Yo, what's up? I'm going to be commentating a recent practice round I had at Owens Field Park. There's a tournament coming up here on November 20th called the Soda City Showdown, and I've been preparing for that. This is my home course. But the reason I wanted to upload, for one thing, is to watch myself play so that I can use that as a tool for improvement. And the other reason is that whenever I travel around and play tournaments, sometimes I'm go play a course that I haven't been able to play myself before the tournament, and I greatly appreciate being able to see a video of someone playing the course beforehand. So this is me doing that at my home course. So what I've got pulled up here is a old picture I found. I'm not sure exactly how old, but it's slightly dated, of Owens Field Park layout. So hole one is going to be up here on the left, and we're going to cruise through the woods here. In the middle, there's a ton of soccer fields. It may or may not be busy with other activities going on while you're there. Cross over the fields, play 8 through 16, and then you cut back across into the woods between 2 and 3 and play 17. And where the difference comes in is that we used to have 18 throw across here, and they've added in holes 19, 20, and 21, which go up to the top left and around this track and would finish back down here near this parking lot. So that's what's changed since this picture was taken, is 3 new holes were added in. Also, though, I believe, I'm not sure which high school it is. I think Dreer High School uses these facilities. And they have said something about they wanted to put in a fence over here near 17 and 18. So 17 has since been changed, and instead of being a little 200-foot straight shot, it's a 200-foot sharp hyzer to a basket right here. Or just a shot that finishes left 200 feet. 18 no longer has a basket there. So 18 and 19 have been combined. So we'll actually tee off for hole 18 here on the right side of this baseball field, and you'll play down the side of this road to what was 19 basket. So if you get confused, if you come play and 18 basket's not there, that's why. There should be there'll be some dead grass over here and maybe a sign. For this was basically hole 18 now. You'll start tee off here, and there's a basket if you were to follow this road down up there. So that's kind of what's changed since this picture was taken. So I'm going to roll this. I've put together some stuff, and I'm going to try to not pause as much as possible. But I will, just to say what I want to say. So if you are playing and you're going to keep your round on U-Disc, the Aw Yeah layout, I believe, is probably the most accurate one for you to use. The long and short tees, which were traditionally the ones that I would use, are outdated at this point because they still have in a separate hole 18 and 19, whereas the Aw Yeah layout, which was a tournament earlier this year, is accurately down to 20 holes. I think there are also some other ones down here you could explore and check them out. I'm sure there are other options on here that are accurate. I think there's Aw Yeah short tees down here as well. So here's statistics from, just so you have an idea of how the course plays. Here was at the recent tournament earlier this year in July. This was the intermediate field. So just for a ballpark idea, they played one round from the long tees. If you shoot even par at Owens Field at this specific tournament, these conditions, it would have been, between 912 and 929 rated. In order to hit like a 950 rating, you would have needed to shoot about 4 under, which is pretty attainable out there. So here's the advanced field at that tournament. This is all public information, so I hope no one minds me having their name on screen, but it's all out there for anyone to see anyway, so I hope it shouldn't be a problem. So top rounds in advance were 7 under, both those clocking in around 980. Again, 900 rated was going to be 2 over in, let's see, round 1. 900 rated around 2 was again around 2 over. So if you're aiming to shoot 900 rated, or try to shoot, +1, if you, aim to shoot even on the course, looks like you'll clock in. Well, excuse me, I might have been wrong. Round rating 903 +2. Okay. Oh, that's sorted by. Excuse me. Anyway, so I'm just trying to provide some statistics here so you get an idea of how the course plays relative to rating. So here's the MPO field. Final round, Tao and CTAP. They both shot 9 down, and that was 1,000 rated. And here's a even round right at 920. So if you want to if you shoot even, it'll get you 920 rated. If you want to hit 950 rating, you need to shoot 4 under. And if you want to hit 1,000 rated, the goalpost would be 9 under based on the statistics just from this one tournament. So I know that changes over time. But okay, so hole 1, it's pretty generous. Nice little opening hole. Just get you basically 270-foot shot. You can kind of throw whatever you want. There's 2 pin positions. The basket's currently on the right. There is another location that'll be on the left. I think the idea for this is literally just get your disc up in here anywhere. Left is bad, right's bad because you'll have obstructed putts. Another bad miss, I think, is just coming up short or throwing low, as you just won't get it. If you crash these trees or just punch anything through these trees, you'll get a birdie putt. So pretty straightforward, nice little opening hole. Very enjoyable. It's a bit breezy out today, but I just like taking a buzz and kind of punching it right at it. I usually try to start this right of the basket and have it fade in, but that's just up the middle. I'll end up with a birdie putt. For reference, for me, I'm an intermediate player. I'm around 883 rated right now or so. So I'm happy to come out here. You know, if I get 1 to 3 under par, it was a decent round. And I think today it's a 1 under round. So just for reference, you're watching someone play like a 910 to 920 rated round. So you'll see me making some putts. You'll see me miss some putts. My game's generally, I would say well-rounded, but it's more like it's all decent but inconsistent. Anyway, first putt off the top, not too mad about it. It was on the line, so I'm going to tap in for a par. This is a hole that will average under par in a tournament. So ideally you want to try to, I don't know if I'd call it a must-get birdie, but that's a hole you count on birdieing when you're kind of, you know, setting your benchmark for what you want to score in a tournament. Hole 2, 250-foot shot here. So there's a few lines. The basket's going to be back here on the right. So there's kind of this line of trees up the middle, and there's an opening on both sides that you could try to go if you want. Basket is behind that last tree just on the right. So you can try to punch forehand down, finish at the basket. You can do backhand turnover, get it over to the basket. Maybe if you went something really overstable, you could do like a flex line where you started left of the tree, cut it right, and have it fade back at the end. If you're, you know, an advanced or really good player, you probably need to worry a bit about going long. For me, I'm just more concerned about hitting my gaps and finishing on the right side if possible. The amateur, like the bad misses, I think are getting over here in these woods on the left. That's bad, as well as if you throw low, this hill can get you sometimes. I don't think the right's too punishing. You can usually scramble out of the right. Another throw I've seen people do is if you've got a lot of power and it's not too windy, you can actually try to crash a forehand in up here just on the basket. I've seen that work a few times. I'm going with Proton Fireball, basically like a Firebird. So I'm just trying to push the left side and have it fade over to the basket. Yep. I'd like to start it a bit wider than that, but I'm more than pleased with that. That'll give me some kind of putt. So here's a look at the fairway. So you really need to get past this tree in the middle at least to, you know, have a good look at birdie, those first 2 trees. But it's pretty generous in here. As long as you don't go wide left or hit a tree, you're generally pretty good. I love the season at Owens. It's around I think I started playing 2 years ago around this time of year. So it's starting to cool down. Some of the leaves are starting to, you know, turn color and fall and that kind of thing. And for whatever, I think it must be a nostalgia thing, but for me, this time of year is one of my favorite times of year to be playing Owens. But in general, love the park, love the course. There's good variety in the shots. You know, we get some par 4s out there. The only problem with the park, I think, I could say problem, but it can get really busy on the weekdays in the afternoons. Some like hole 5, sometimes you can't use the long tee, but really happy to have Owens as a home course. Big shout out real quick to the Columbia Disc Golf Group and Bradley Foltett specifically. They do a lot of work for us. I think we've got a really fun club and really enjoy all the work that all the folks put in. Okay, so hole 3, this is a hole that will average over par in a tournament. I think like Yuli was out here a year or 2 ago. He bogeyed it both rounds. But there's a really treacherous tee shot here from the longs. You're just trying to throw a forehand or maybe a turnover or like a flare skip thumber and try to get something around or past this short tee. And then the basket, there's 2 pin positions. One is up on the left on a hill, and the other one is right through kind of a tunnel of trees. But I'll give you a better look at it right here in a second. So maybe about right here is the short tee. So ideally you're going to throw, for me, if you're a righty, throwing a forehand, push something here and have it hyzer over, maybe skip over and gain some ground to the right. But really anything that gets you up and through this gap is the main thing. Like, you got to hit this gap. If you catch these early trees, you're pitching out at best, to be honest. So I'm going to go with a Justice here. You just try to push it up there and have it get some fade over to the right just for the bit of distance. I don't think you can go further than, I don't even, it might be shorter than 200 feet. That the next tee box is got to be 180, maybe shorter than that, I would say. If you throw it more than 200 feet, I think you're in the woods deep. So it's got to be something that hyzers out. That comes out of my hand early, and I get one of the most generous tree kicks. If that doesn't kick out right, I am in jail over here, and we'll probably be struggling to find a decent pitch out. Instead, I get a nice little kick left, and I'm right here. So there's your short tee box. Short tee box kind of has a straight shot. If you see this kind of hill over here, it rounds out, and the basket's on the backside of the hill there. There's another basket position that would be up on the right. So what I'm trying to, my options here are to pitch out, maybe hopefully just land on the short pad and try to get to the pin from there. But I actually have a small window right here. I say small, maybe a medium-sized window right here. So I'm going to go overstable, basically throw my fireball, just punch it through there and hope it fades out and hyzers and gets down close to the hill so I can have a closer approach shot. Yep, get out the gap. Comes around to fine. So that was maybe a cheeky decision, but I got away with that one. So here's a look from the short pad. Sorry, it's getting fuzzy when I'm pausing it, but basically the basket's going to be like right here off this hill. So if you're throwing short, there's a few different ways to play it. You can try to throw, if you hit this dead patch of stuff right here with any kind of straight shot, like say if you threw like a buzz on like a dead straight or maybe flex line, you can counter skip it off of this hill and that'll take the speed off it so it'll settle near the basket. Because if you try to if you land on the hill near the basket, you're pretty much going to roll away. So there's a few different lines you can try to go. Like if you like a hyzer, you can go outside hyzer and skip it around. And I need to check the pin positions for the tournaments. I apologize. Some of these pin positions might be different. I'll try to bring up possible other pin locations where I can. Other basket position is down here. There's kind of this pathway through these trees that ends up on the right. It's probably 200 feet from here. So you can go with any kind of overstable forehand out here and skip it over. Or if you like a backhand turnover, speaking for righties, then you can kind of just throw a straight to turnover putter at it from here.
On that hill back there.
A lot of drives. A well-thrown forehand righty drive would end up maybe on this hill or somewhere in here. That is like the best case scenario drive.
There is another basket position that would be
that I've seen anyway.
Right, kind of at the end of this tunnel of trees.
I'm sure there are some guys at MPO in advance that I haven't played with that have gotten a disc further out than I can imagine. But again, I think from that long tee box, your main focus is just getting out that gap. So here you can see the basket, how it's perched on this hill. It's really mean, man. Like if you try to land something near it, it's in all likelihood going to roll away. A lot of times what I try to do or think for my approach is to hyzer something on the flat part to it. So that way I just have a 10-foot putt. Otherwise, you will roll 20, 30 feet away in a lot of cases. Unless you're just better than me and you match the slope, then maybe you can keep it close. Also, this light pole will get you too. You're going to be careful for it. So I've decided I'm going to just try to take my putter and just kind of do a bit of a jump putt up there. Try to land it, have it anhyzer kind of down the hill, match the slope a little bit. Comes out a little too low. So I still end up with like a 30-foot look. I shouldn't be too can't complain too much. So here's what I'm talking about. So I just pitched a pig up, landed it right beside the basket, and that thing rolled to 30 feet away. We can't see it. Oh, there it is. You kind of saw it just trickle down to over there. I don't know if it's entirely 30 feet away, but it's not a putt that I want, when, you know, relative to if I were to just land the disc here. So I don't think I'm quite outside the circle, maybe circle's edge or something. I'm going to go with a little straddle. Hey, bar down, baby. I know that's not dead center, but coming from someone who played hockey, it's always cool to see something hit off the crossbar and go if you know what I mean. All right, hole 4 is a 180-foot par 3, but it's pretty treacherous. There's about 100 foot of tunnel very early, and you need to get out of that gap. If you hit a tree within this first, say, 100 feet, you're likely going to have a tough time with your trying to scramble. If you get anything through the first 100 feet, then you're likely to filter down to the basket and have a birdie putt. So the main thing is just hitting the middle of this gap, and whatever your disc does after that is just bonus. You know, I like flicking a pig. It's open down on the right, so I think the forehand's a good move. A lot of times this will filter down beside the basket and it kind of flattens out over here. So that's just my kind of play. I try to flick, just get through the main gap. I like the forehand, so that way I'm just looking at the gap, make sure I try to hit the middle, and then whatever happens after that, I'm cool with. You can end up long of the basket. There's a road. It's all downhill, and there's a road maybe 80 feet behind the basket. You don't need to worry too much about getting to the road. I think you're fine. But really, you just got to make sure you kind of get through this initial 100 foot of trees here. Ooh, that was wobbly. But yeah, I'm plenty happy with the result. Peered the gap. So here's what I think it, you know, opens up a good bit here on the right. So if I flick a pig and it, you know, it's a little weak, you know, you can kind of end up here and maybe have like a downhill 30-foot putt. Best case scenario, I kind of hyzer out and land in this flat spot near the basket. Backhands a lot of times will end up in these trees over here, and you usually will have a putt, but it may require some straddling to find a line. What actually happened to me, I never touched anything, and I got it about 30 feet out past the basket in the middle of grass over there. So I will have a uphill look at it. I think this is one you run, because if you roll away, you're going to stop within, you know, down here, and I think that's just a little uphill 20-footer. So at most. So I think this is one that you definitely choose to run. And this stretch right here, as if you play here in the afternoon or evening on a weekday, a lot of times the soccer fields are full, and the parents that are dropping their kids off or watching their kids end up parking on the 5 fairway there. So I was definitely intending to run that. Did not give it the height, but I will take my par and I'll be happy about it. Okay, hole 5 as a par 4. Apologies, I didn't get a good grab of the T sign when I was filming, but on UDisc it's 390. So ideally, I think you kind of want to throw a 280-foot shot that lands. This sign right here where my cursor is the short pad. So ideally for me, what I'm trying to do is throw something, you know, stable on a flex line over towards this tree and have it fade onto that tee pad basically at the end. I think Road will play OB in the tournament. The bad misses are A, missing this Mando, B, going across the road OB, and C, hyzering out early and ending up in these trees. If you're in this ditch, you have to pretty much be all the way up to these rocks to have a look up to the basket. If you're in these trees early, like you shank a backhand, you will struggle to scramble for par, I imagine. If you go in deep, though, if you get really far and then hyzer into these trees, you do have a chance to actually go through kind of a backdoor route or to throw a scramble shot up through into the green, which is up here. So basically what the hole's going to do is it's going to go here for about 270, 280 feet is my guess. And then the basket's like 120 foot, say, from this tee up this hill. So I'm going to go with the Plasma Volt, which is a pretty neutral to stable fairway driver. It's like an 8-speed. And what I like to try to do is just to throw it flat to maybe a little bit of anhyzer down the tree line, so that way it comes off of it. And then towards the end of the flight, as it loses speed, ideally it'll just fade and settle right in there. Well, I have seen Philo throw this hole. He was hanging out for a little while in Columbia, and I think he was throwing destroyers, and he was just mashing a destroyer up here and letting it hyzer into the gap. So if you're an advanced to, or a pro level player, I think that's kind of the play they go for, or a play you can go for. Oh, I'm gonna curse. Don't curse. Okay, I think I blocked it out. This tee pad, some of the one, if I don't like to gripe or complain much, and I'm grateful for what we have. Some of these tee pads get a little sandy, specifically hole 5 and hole 16. You got to be like, if you're a person that'll put down a towel on a tee pad for the sake of slippage, this is a tee pad to do it on, I think, just because it'll kind of sandy, and I think I had a slip right there. I don't have great I don't have great throwing form in the first place, but I think that little slip might have ended up causing me to release that way nose up, and I did that miss C I was talking about, which is hyzering into the trees on the left. Apologize if I think I dropped the F-bomb or two there, so sorry if those came through. Now, this is kind of what I was talking about. This is jail here. I'm going to have to try to pitch out. If you're a little bit further up, then you can try to throw something, there, the wood's kind of thin up back here. There's a walking path. So you can try to throw something up there, or maybe just like jam a overhand throw out into this area. I didn't really seem to have any of that. So I just got to my disc and I was like, all right, I'll just pitch my pig out. And I didn't really have any great gaps to pitch out through. I think in order for me to have an upshot, I would need to either get forward enough to be able to hit this gap or out far enough to hit the gap. So I end up going for a line that's going to get me forward enough, say just get to that tee box, and I hit it, hit a tree right in front of me, and I get one of the luckiest rolls I could ask for. It just rolls me right out to the ditch, which is fine. So from here, if you want, I reckon you could try to throw a turnover forehand or a flex forehand, around this gap. I know my game well enough to where I just need to pitch up to there and go and have a go at it from that spot. You could also maybe try to get some roller to turn up there. But I am comfortable throwing the shot from this tee, and I'm confident that I can get up and down from there. So this is the short tee. It's like just 120-foot uphill shot kind of thing. There is another tee that they can also use for shorts, which is back by the Mando tree. That's actually the drop zone if you miss the Mando. So this kind of shot, what you're looking for is obviously just anything up by the basket. There's a ditch right here on the right of the basket. So if you throw anything up here, the ditch will catch it and you'll be about 20 feet away. So I tend to aim a pig up here and try to let it fade in, or if I end up in the ditch, I'm happy with it. I pull that. It's a late release. Nothing. Whoops. So now it's almost the same shot, just from a different angle. I'm going to try to throw a pig up here and have it hyzer over. If I go in the ditch, that's cool with me. So I think I left myself like 25 feet or something. So it wasn't the best upshot. But I got a putt, and I'll see what I can make. Yeah, that's not close. That's only 20 feet or something. So this is what I'm talking about. You can kind of see the lip of the ditch over here. So trying to throw something into this ditch, I think, is a good play. If you can go about, I'd say, 12 feet deep of the basket without being too bothered by these trees. But if you get 20 feet deep of the basket, all that brush back there kind of ends up making your putt pretty tough, even though you're in the circle. So I think kind of missing short or right is kind of the good, the areas you'd want to try to land in around this basket. Okay, hole 6 is just a dead straight. I guess 380-foot hole. Again, forgot to grab the T sign, but pulled some data from UDisc. My play here, what I like to do, and I think what I've seen other people do successfully, try to throw some kind of fairway or controlled driver or a distance driver if you want, and just push it down there. The bad miss, I think, is missing right. If you miss right side, again, scrambling can end up tough. If you're on the edge, you'll have a step out, but if this is probably a 12 to 15 foot deep stretch of woods the whole way down, and you can very easily kick into it and just have a pitch out only, available to you. So I think the idea for me is try to throw something down the left side that works right, and hyzers back into the hill. If you have a disc hyzer into the hill here, it'll typically roll out. If it rolls all the way across, it's likely to catch something on the edge, so you'll be on the edge on the right, which is fine. If you end up high left, then I think you still are okay because you'll have some kind of scramble shot, whether it be a forehand roller or just a putt down to below the basket. I think is fine. So I try to go with like my neutral. I'm going to throw that Proton Volt again, which is just a neutral to stable 8-speed. I aim it right here and try to throw it on a slight anhyzer to work it over, and then at the end it should, fade into the hill. I just started a bound online. I think I brought it out a bit nose up, but hyzer in the hill like I want, and it rolls down a little bit, but I'm still up on the left side. I'm plenty fine with that. I can par from there. Yeah, so here I am, maybe 70, 80 feet out or something like that. And again, take everything, if you're not already, take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt, because I am, still just a, being 880 graded. There's definitely people that have more knowledge and better shots than I have. So just trying to keep everything in perspective. Yeah, so here's if you get this far on the right side, it thins out to where you're fine. But if you get in the right earlier than that, you can end up in real trouble. So this green will roll away. Like you will, if you start rolling from here, you will end up on the other side of this path and have some kind of straddle 30-foot putt to save your par. So what I like to do is kind of just land a putter around here, so that way I'm guaranteed, a 10 to 15 foot putt to end the hole. Okay, hole 7. This is one of my favorite holes on the course. It's just a 235-foot tunnel shot. I don't think you can really aim for the left or right gap. There's a walking path that goes down the left up here. You can kind of push down that if your shot goes astray. Also, out near the road over here, if you have something go astray down the right and you threw a right-hand backhand, in all likelihood, it's going to end up in the circle. Because once it gets out, say, this gap, nothing's stopping it, and it should hyzer into the basket at the end. What I like to do is to recently, my miss on my backhand lately has been a late release. So in all times, what I'm trying to do with my game currently, until I, as my throw changes, I'll adapt. But my current strategy is to aim at the left side of a fairway or whatever I have available and throw a flat to kind of flex shot. So that way, if my miss is right, I'm opening up the amount of area I have for that miss is kind of my strategy for this. But yeah, if you can definitely just throw a putter at it. To me, this is a fun hole to kind of give a run at, because if I throw the buzz on a flat line at this tree and it should kind of hyzer at the last second, I do kind of like trying to give this a run. Even though it might, I don't know if it's the smartest thing to do or not, but it is a hanging basket, by the way. I come out a bit late, just good enough, get that tree kick off the cage.
After a tree direct.
Yep. Definitely better than I deserve, I reckon. Well, no, I say that, but I guess whenever stuff like that happens, I always like to say, like, oh, you had to throw it just good enough to get that reaction, right? So if you ever get a lucky kick, you probably deserved it, because if you threw it any worse, you wouldn't have got it, right? So you had to throw it just good enough to get the kick. Just off the left weak side. That's fine. This is definitely a hole that probably, if I had to guess, it averages under par in a tournament. I would say of the holes we played so far, 1 and 2, 1 probably averages under par, 2 probably averages close to par, 3 definitely averages over par, 4 probably averages slightly under par, 5 probably averages at or slightly under par, 6 probably averages at par for intermediate or advanced field is kind of what I'm thinking. 7 probably averages under par. This hole 8, I could see it averaging slightly over par. If you want, you can go check the scores at the beginning of the video. Okay, so hole 8, did I grab the T sign? Sorry. Okay, so my apologies, I was kind of talking. Okay, so hole 8, it's going to be kind of a slight S. No, it's not an S. What is this? It's going to go a little bit right off the long tee and then straight the rest of the way. There's 3 basket positions. One is tucked in the trees on the left. One is out the end of the gap immediately on the right. And a third position is out the gap forward about 50 feet on the right. So ideally, I don't think you can try to throw a forehand roller or a flex backhand if you're a right-handed player and try to push something way down there if you like. For me, I'm just trying to get to this short tee pad because from there I know I can get to all the baskets, and this initial gap, it can be very difficult to hit. Even though, at least for me. But yeah, if you hit some of these trees early right or left, you're, you know, I'm not going to say you can't birdie, but you're likely eliminating the, you know, any chances of getting a birdie, and at that par will probably be difficult. So all I'm trying to do is flick a forehand down the middle, fade it over on the right. If I ended up wide right, I'm happy with that. I like leaning on the overstable disc so I can just focus on pushing it down the gap and letting the disc do the work after that. So here I am right by the short pad. Basket's currently tucked in on the left. This is probably a 180-foot shot if I had to guess. Maybe less than that. I'm just going to take a pig and I'm going to aim at this tree and let it fade into the basket. Pretty much exactly what I was thinking. That's the same throw I'd throw from the short tee, I think. Now, there have been yellow jackets spotted. We found, excuse me. Last year there was a yellow jacket nest on the right side of this fairway, so that is something to be warned about if you are allergic and or afraid of yellow jackets like I am. I think I was at a tournament in Seneca last year and I got stung 3 times in the Sunday before the morning started. Before the morning round started, so I'm definitely weary and hesitant of hornets and yellow jackets and that kind of thing. Also, I think at the Yeah tournament in July, hole 9 actually didn't count. They did not play this hole 9, because there were yellow jackets in the fairway. So hole 9, there's again 3 basket locations. There's also 3 tee locations. Thanks, Brad, and all you guys in the disc golf group who have done the work to give us so many different layouts. Like having 3 tees and 3 baskets on one hole, I think is incredible, and I think they're all, you know, reasonably fun. So currently it's in the A position. I'm not sure what position it'll be in for the tournament, but I'm throwing from the standard long tee pad to the A position. So it's basically a 290-foot right finishing shot. So I'm trying to just punch a forehand down the middle and have it hyzer, you know, fade out and skip towards the basket. I'm going with a destroyer so that way it'll handle some wobble if I put it on it, as well as get a good bit of finish and skip over to the basket. Yeah, it just came out nose up on me. I've definitely thrown worse than that. I'm not going to complain too much. I set this up behind the basket, so this is looking back. The tee box is like down here, so just for frame of reference. Some lady was driving a golf cart through. Good for her. Hope she's having a good day. But that was kind of funny or random. It caught me by surprise. So some kind of circle 2 look. I'm going to go with the Anheuser route. Just leave it out wide a little bit, but that's fine. I think there is definitely a backhand turnover line on the inside as well. And I'm not sure which basket will play in the tournament. And there's a par. Okay, we're coming up on a hole 10. This hole, playing as a par 4, I think is one of the holes I kind of count, or it's a high percentage birdie hole, if that makes sense. There is a straight shot, but I think that is not worth it when you can guarantee a backhand hyzer to here and then a forehand that skips it or hyzers to the basket from, say around in here. What I actually have been electing to try, or what I've been trying to do though, is actually throwing something more overstable that will say hyzer under this tree and skip out towards the left into the middle gap, so that way it opens up the forehand angle a little bit more. Because if you land way over on the right, it can be a little bit tough to get a forehand to get over there enough, so you do want to make sure you finish enough right. Typically a good play is just a forehand, or excuse me, if you're a right-hand backhand, to throw a driver up here, have it fade, and it'll skip over and kind of be in line with these trees, and you've got a decent forehand up from there. I'm going to try to punch something at the bottom of these leaves and have it hyzer over into this straight gap. So I about do it. I don't think I quite got enough pop on it. I need a little more speed on that and maybe punch it a little lower to do what I want. I caught a tree in the middle and kind of up in a little awkward position. I think I definitely am going to go back to just throwing the driver flatter, wider, something less stable, and try to push it out to here, because that seems more of a guaranteed play than me ending up here. So I can't really throw like a good forehand because of this tree on my right. I don't really want to throw the backhand because that turnover line, there's too much of the ceiling is too low, I feel like, for me to guarantee that I'll throw a backhand that'll match that line good, because it would have to get under this tree kind of while turning over, and at that point I feel like it's just going to die in the ground, or I'm just going to hit the ceiling. So I'm electing to go forehand cut roller. I think I got a good reaction there. It helped me get out straight, but I ended up cutting over, and I think I ended up kind of in circle too, so I'm plenty happy with that. Wouldn't really ask for more or a better result from attempting that kind of shot. This is kind of a backdoor route. I'll try to back up a little bit. So if you end up kind of going wide right and you push down here, there is kind of a backdoor route. It's pretty narrow. Wouldn't say it's... yeah, this is it here. So if you do end up pushing too long straight or right, you can try to go through there if you like. Just so you know that's an option. So I end up over here in these bushes, kind of edge of just outside circle 1 or something like that, I think. I have a bunch of branches in my way, so found a little gap. Let's try to spin it out of there. And I'll take my par. So I think this hole probably, as the par 4 from the long tee, averages under par. But as the par 3 from the short tee, I think, is a tougher hole. I think it's harder to birdie as a par 3 from the short than it is to birdie as a par 4 from the long. There is also a shorter pin position in which this hole definitely averages under par. The basket would be back to the left about 100 feet or so short of this. And I'll grab my par. All right, moving on up to hole 11. If you threw a forehand on hole 9, or whatever you threw on hole 9, I think is probably a good thing to throw for a position on hole 11. So you can kind of see the fairway here. Just at the end of this fairway, behind some trees on the right, is the first basket position, and about 40 feet, 50 feet deeper than that is another position. So you can probably throw the same shot just with a different disc if you like, depending on the basket positions. It's kind of hard to reach that B if you're really strong. If you're a lefty backhand or you got a really good righty forehand, I'm sure you just get back there pretty easy, just throwing a driver and letting it skip in. You can also probably try to go a backhand and just you could probably throw a buzz and just have it turn or flex it kind of down here and push straight at the end. What I like to try to do is go forehand out here and just fade it into the basket. My idea right now is to anhyzer here and kind of flex line it to the basket. And I was just talking about throw the shot that you threw on hole 9, and I I threw I threw the shot that I threw on the hole 9, which is a nose up forehand. So I was pretty fortunate, actually, I think, to get the reaction I did. I basically have nothing in front of me all the way to the basket, and I am 80 feet out or something like that. This would be a good moment for me to say, so this tree, behind this tree in this area is where the other basket position would be, for reference. Yeah, so this is another good view. About, if you were to put another basket on the exactly opposite of this basket, right, same distance from that tree, that's probably where the other basket position is. And this stretch of holes, like this is a hole I feel like averages under par, 10 averages under par, and the next hole, hole 12, probably averages under par. So this is like a good way to kick off the back nine. I feel like it really opens up for scoring opportunities. You can, I think, you know, these last, including this hole and the previous two holes, you've got a good opportunity to rack a turkey up and really help your score out. So hole 12 straight was a 280 foot or so shot. I'm just going to go with the buzz. I try to, again, since my miss is a late release, I like to aim at the left side of this gap and try to force it over a bit and have it finish straight to the basket. If I hyzer out early in near those trees, I'm plenty fine with it. The main thing is just getting through this gap. As newer players, the miss was always, we would just never make this gap. You know what I mean? It's 20 feet wide or whatever it is, and we'd always hit those trees. So I think the main thing is just trying to punch something straight through that gap, get something down, you know, don't, you know, as long as you're circle 1, circle 2, you've got a chance for a birdie and you're definitely making your par, and I think that's a good way to go about it. So I'll pick up my birdie, and I am happy with that. Hole 13. This hole will average over par. I think as a par 3 from the long, playing 380, you're about to see how wicked of a tunnel this is. MPO, I checked, I think they averaged 3, which was par. Advanced, I think, was averaging 3.7. I didn't look what, or I didn't check to see what the intermediate average was. But this is in my mind, this is a par 4. If you're an MPO player, then I don't think, maybe one guy birdied it out of like 8 MPO players. I'm not exactly certain. But in my mind, a 3 is a birdie on this hole. It's very easy. With as long as this hole is, to be as narrow as it is and as thick as the woods are on both sides, playing for par, I think, is, you know, a fine move. I mean, even for me, like, I don't have great form or huge arm speed or anything, and I can get a buzz down to 100 feet or something. And at that point, if you're in the middle, you can give it a bid if you like. I think the woods kind of thin out after halfway down on the left. So if you do elect to, say, throw something higher speed and hyzer out on the left, I think that's a fine decision in my opinion. Yep, that's my game plan, executed just like I would have wanted. Started on the left, flexed it to the middle. So I just gotten one of the new James Conrad Nomads, hadn't thrown it yet, so I figured I'll try a little pitch up with it here. Not a great decision, I don't think, because I am making the gap narrower with the backhand than it would be with the forehand. Because of this angle I have, given these two trees, it's a smaller gap, whereas if I step out with the forehand and come at it from this way, the gap is bigger. However, I threw it just good enough to get a lucky bounce. So, yeah, there's the forehand that I think I should have thrown. And this, you kind of see what I'm talking about, or what I mentioned a little bit, how it's kind of thinned out down here. So if you push far enough and then hyzer out left, a lot of times you'll have a look at the basket, you know, if not an easy scramble. But this is a hole where I definitely think you should just try to keep it in the middle and take the 3. Unless you're, you know, a high-rated player, then I don't have advice for you. Because you know what you're doing better than I am, I reckon. In terms of that Nomad, I do quite like it. For me, it's, you know, relatively stable, being a newer disc. If it beats in nice and gets a little less fade on it, I'd like to bag it, but at this point I have pigs that are turning over, so I'm kind of cycling pigs. I don't know if that nomad will find a spot or not. Okay, hole 14. I love this hole. It's another hole with a lot of variety to it. The main pads are this long pad here, and this is the main short pad. There are two alt pads on the left, which start out down the left side and would cross over this creek to get to any of the three baskets. There's a creek that runs the whole way down the hole. The basket is currently in position C, which is a shorter one right in the middle. This B basket is elevated and is a real bugger, and the A basket is just back on the left. So here's a look at it. I think that the main gaps, you can go right gap or this left gap. I used to try to mash a driver kind of at this gap and let it hyzer out towards the short pad. But this left gap I believe is bigger. So what I do now is just try to throw something out this gap on a backhand, and it's a wide open field over here on the left. And it also opens up a really open approach. There are open lines for the approach shot to this B and C positions. If it's in the A position, it's a bit tricky because you can see here these trees are, the gap to get to that basket would be narrow, or you'd have to throw something out here and get it to hyzer and skip a lot to get over to it. So if it's in either of these two positions that are the rightmost positions, I think hyzering out to this field is fine. If it's in this back left, if it is in this back left position, I would probably try to throw something, either a forehand out this gap or a turnover and have it finish out here, or the backhand and have it finish near the short pad. So I just got a neutron volt. I really like my plasma one. I think this one should end up being a little bit more stable, being I guess more of the equivalent of like a champion plastic. But I'm just going to try to flex it out this gap and have it hyzer into the field that's up there on the left. Yep, there was my late release, but I accounted for it, and I'm out in the field. If it's rained any time at all, there's typically water in this creek, but right now we haven't had too much rain recently, so it's nice and dry. So the basket position is currently right here, right in front of you. In this position, I think it's definitely a hole to, you're trying to birdie, or definitely is averaging under par. The other position is behind these trees a bit. You might have seen it. There's a concrete cylinder. That is the base of the basket in that position, and it will be elevated. It's probably, the cage is probably 7 feet in the air. The other position is back here on the left. So you would want to be from here, maybe throw a skipping shot over, or be here so that way you've got an actual straight line at it. I'm going to go with a Justice. It's a bit windy out, so really want to lean on the stability of the disc. I don't really want to try to thread a straight shot in here due to my poor releases and everything, so I'm going to go the overstable route, put it up here, try to hyzer it into the basket. Get it out a little high. If I get it lower than that, it pushes straighter, I think, and doesn't finish as far left. But I'm still happy with that. I mean, I'm in the circle with the putt that I should make. I think if I would have had that poor of a release trying to go the inside gap, maybe the result would have been worse or less fortunate. Or maybe it wouldn't have been. So there's the concrete block that's used for the raised basket. The other basket position is kind of over here where my cursor is on the left. Just leave it a little low. This is probably one of my favorite holes on the course. You get to just throw a driver off the tee, then you usually have some kind of fun approach shot. Okay, hole 15. So there used to be a... Oh, maybe I'm wrong. So this sign looks like there is a... How do I phrase this? There's a tee position back here that was always the long tee, but I think now by default it is here. I'm not exactly certain about it. That long tee used to just get so muddy anytime it would rain that I thought we kind of stopped using it. And then also, I think the tee sign is up at where this tee box is. So I think this is the default tee box, but I could be wrong. The basket's going to be at the end of this on the left. There is a short position that would be right here. If it's in the short, you can just throw an overstable putter through either gap or mid or whatever. I'm going to throw overstable driver and try to push these trees and then have it skip over all the way to the basket. Oh, just a little early, a little inside. I catch the middle tree, which is about the only it's the only thing there to miss, and I hit it. I'm going to have a go with the neutron volt. I think that one was early and inside, but that ends up in the circle, so that's fine. So I caught this tree, 120 out or so. Just going to try to throw a pig wide, have it finish over to the basket. The other basket position that exists is typically, I think that might be the bit for it right there. So you can get to that off the tee with, a putter or mid pretty easily. Just got to keep it low. Sometimes these trees, I think they've maybe cut these trees or at some point, because I believe the ceiling here used to be much lower. I will take my par. I think from that tee to this pin, with the ceiling as high as it currently is, this hole should average under par. Okay, hole 16. This is another fun hole from the long tee. If you're a righty, you kind of just get to blast a driver out and have it try to hyzer into the green. I don't know that I've ever seen anyone really try to throw this gap. You could if you want to, but I think the idea is just try to blast a driver, maybe right here, and have it hyzer in and skip to the green. This grass gets long, so I don't think roller is really a play unless the grass has been cut. Right now it's relatively short. However, also this grass will eat your disc and prevent it from skipping, but it does kind of die out and we get a little, it gets kind of turns more into dirt and you're more likely to get a skip the closer in your disc hits to the green. So really, if you get it to land about here, it should skip over the green nice. But if you land it out here, the grass is most likely going to eat the skip, in my experience. This is another tee pad that I tend to slip on due to there being some sand or loose sediment on top. So if you're a towel on the ground guy, this might be a good tee pad to consider doing that on. Yeah, I let that out a bit high and wide, but I am a-okay with that. It's going to be a bit short and outside, but circle 2 kind of area. This is what I'm kind of talking about, where if you can get your drive to land more towards where this grass is dying out, you'll more likely get a better skip. That was not a good shot. I needed to either give it more angle, or I should have honestly just putted the disc to here and taken the par.
Should have just hyzer putted to the basket. Oh boy. I got it.
If you're a lefty watching this video and listening to my commentary, apologize for not addressing the lefty shot shapes for each hole. Yeah, let's chain down a little putt, but that's all right. Need to spend a little more time in the garage putting. That's not a hole I like to bogey. That's probably a hole, definitely averages under par. If I would bet $1 on that. Okay, there's no more T sign here because this hole has changed due to the high school saying they were going to put up a fence or something like that. The basket used to be either up here on this hill at the end, so you could just throw a putter or mid at it, or there was a short position right here. You could try to ace run with a putter every time. The hole now I think is actually really cool. It's tucked in the woods over here on the left in kind of a smallish green. So you can try to go inside. I've seen someone throw like mid-range forehand turnover through this inside gap. I try to go really overstable on a hyzer, land it about here and have it skip over into the green. It's only about 170 feet. To that gap, it's probably only 150 or something. But so I try to go justice, a little more speed than a pig, so I get a bigger skip. I do about what I want to, but I'm a little short, and I catch a tree on the entrance to the green. So here's the new green. I actually really like this. It's cool. If this tree leaning over wasn't there, it would think it would be look a little less cool or scenic or something. But given the situation, I'm very pleased with what they did with the hole. I enjoy it a lot. There you go. Snagged a putt. Got my birdie. And I think they kept the hole to what it was, which is, 17 was always a hole you walked up to playing into birdie it. So, and I think that's kind of still the case. As you can see, the woods are very thick through here, so ending up short or long, you'll probably have a putt, but you might need a straddle for it. Okay, so if you've never played the course before and you're going by U-disc or something, this is where you might get confused. Hole 18 used to tee off from up here near these trees, and you would throw way over here on the left, kind of, if you follow this tree line, we had a basket in a green position over here. So you would throw from up here down to 18 basket, and then hole 19, you'd tee off from over here in these trees and throw to that basket over there. Because of the fence situation, the high school announced they had to remove 18 basket. This looks like a T sign that I didn't grab. So now we play from this location to 19 basket as a par 4. As you can see, it's just a wide open drive. Try to blast something out there. There's OB right, but there's so much field left. I think the big mistake is not getting enough distance. I think it's roughly 500 feet. So work that out for yourself. However you need to get off the tee to be able to approach. I think the considerations here are: don't hit these trees, don't turn over into this hill, and try to leave yourself an angle for the approach shot that you want. Like if you're approaching with a forehand and you're way out left on the field, then your angle is cut off by the brush and everything. So if you want to approach with a forehand, maybe try to land close to the hill. If you want to approach with a backhand, then maybe try to land way out left on the field. That way it opens up your hyzer angle into the green a bit more. This road the whole way down is OB. So I'm just going to try to punch a destroyer out there, just throw it straight. I have a Wraith, which is, as a driver is the more sensible thing for me to throw, but with the destroyer having more stability and me wanting to finish left, it's the right choice, I believe. So I've left myself in this kind of position. Again, I think in the past they had marked this brush on the left as OB during tournament play. I'm not sure if that'll still be the case for the tournament this November. But I'm going to just I could probably throw a pig. I'm not that far out. There's a staircase right here on the right. I'm not sure what the distance is. But I'm just basically going to try to throw a buzz right at it. Maybe start it left, work it right a bit, and have it fade. And I late release that, and it comes out on too much angle as well. And I am I'm like 250 feet from the basket, or if not, or if even that, and chucked it OB. So not my best throw, but is what it is. A little bit of a ceiling, just kind of pitch it up. That was kind of a bid, but oh heck, we'll get him. Don't worry, Chief, we'll get him next time. Take my bogey. All right, hole 20. This is another treacherous hole. It's another kind of tunnel shot that can eat you up real quick. So there it is right at the end. I guess it's about 210 feet based on the sign. That sounds about right, I guess. So I like going with this play again where I just take my buzz, aim it at the left side, let myself work it over, flex it right a bit, and then, finish out straight at the basket. I think, see this leaning tree here? If you get down the fairway past this tree, you will end up with a putt, in my opinion. That's the main thing, is just getting down the fairway in the middle to this point. Once your disc is past this point in the fairway, you're good. You're gonna at best birdie, at worst par, I would say. And I late released it like I knew my miss was. Got some pretty lucky kicks, honestly. This leaf deflected me left into the fairway, and I got a kick off of that tree such that it carried down and forward in this ditch on the right. So a really fortunate result for the execution of the shot. I think missing left, there is more danger than missing right. Usually if you miss right, you will end up in this ditch, which is honestly not a bad place to be if you're far enough down the fairway. Or the hole, rather. Yeah, so for as poorly as that shot was thrown, I guess I'd like to say that I planned well and got rewarded for it. However, anyway, I ended up here with a little putt. A 2 chains. Snuck under par with 1 to go. Okay, hole 21. We're teeing off from right in the woods here. There's this A position, which is straight ahead past some trees. The B position is if you follow this fence line along, and it's like 200 feet, maybe 220 feet outside of the A basket. So the gap that I like to do is actually trying to go out here wide on the right and having it hyzer in and skip to the basket. You can try to go straight with a backhand or a forehand that skips here to the basket if you want. However, to me, I can reliably start a disc out here and throw something overstable enough to where I know it's going to come back. They recently cut this tree. There used to be a ton of leaves and crap right here. So this right side has now been opened up even more. If you early release inside, there's a chance that you just get through here. But I'm really trying to just aim kind of right off the edge of these, start the disc up here, and hyzer it in. I've seen someone ace this hole before throwing the forehand. There used to be a bench right before the basket. It was actually a guy named Tal. He threw forehanded a Thunderbird. I can't remember if he got it out this gap or if he early released it here. And I think it skipped and hit the bench and went in the basket. But the basket's like right back here. So I try to set the camera. So this is kind of the line that I'm looking for, is to start it up here and let it hyzer in. Yeah, that came out early. I don't think you can see it, but it came out early and inside, and I caught the trees right here and fell down. I think I gave it another go real quick with the fireball, which is like the Firebird. And even though I hit that limb or that twig right there, I got it outside and it kept enough speed to get up in the circle.
I'll try to throw the forehand.
Oh no, I hope I cut this out.
Well, I mean, maybe we'll. It's like not to go there.
For me, I feel like I have to throw the forehand nose down and overstable to try to skip it off this and get it around. It's just this ceiling right here for me is just so hard to get under without diving the disc into the ground, and that's why I like the backhand. Oh yeah, look at that. I think when I've gotten that to work throwing the Justice before, but if you're a strong forehand player or a lefty backhand, you know, that very well could be your play. I've also seen a guy throw a thumber or tomahawk somehow out on the right. I can't remember how he did that, but it was pretty cool. So that was the fireball that hit the branch right off the tee box, and it, you know, fought its way up here. So I missed my approach. I just flicked a pickup, and there it is, guys. Well, cool. Glad I got to do this. I'll be able to watch it back, look at my form, look at how I'm playing, try to make some improvements, and at the same time, I hope I have, you know, helped someone else out by letting them see the course before they've been to play it. But cool. Again, big shout out to the Columbia disc golf community, Brad Fultet and all those other guys that are doing so much work for us. And if you guys are playing the course in the future, I really hope you enjoy it. But that's all for me, guys. Have a good one.